Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome in, welcome in. It's so good to see all of you. I am so very excited for tonight. And welcome in all of you. I'm super excited. Yes, Pryor's with me tonight as well.
Hello, Limbus fans.
But yes, so I did not need to stream tonight. And then I was at work and I saw Project Moon put out a tweet and I went, there's an update? And then I basically was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this now. So yes, we have him here as special guest. He does live. He does live.
Hello, chat. Hello, everyone. Not to cut you off, but I'm just saying I'm happy to be here, and it's my job here tonight to make sure that the GOAT does not go streaming too late. So we're gonna be attempting to get through this update, give our live reactions. We don't know much, and we're very excited to be here. And hello to everyone in the chat.
Yes. But yes, it's so awesome seeing all of you. Thank you for joining us. And I think it has to do the update real quick. I'll let you all know. I know the tiniest bit about this because I was at work when it updated and I clicked on it because I usually just put my I usually grab my Enkaphalin occasionally throughout the day. So I have it. And it doesn't fill up. And then the thing started playing. And I looked and I went, I didn't realize we were going to go right into it. I thought we were going to have I thought there was going to be an update break. So, but also, yes, a happy Trans Day of Visibility, everyone. You can see me for today and never again. Just so you all know. Also, Pryor really is Fiverr. And yes, oh my gosh, but no, thank you all for coming. I'm so happy to see all of you here. I'd usually be able to chat more, but I know today I gotta lock in and get some work done after. So I'm going to lock in and do this. But yes, a few days before arriving at District 8. Just another day, just another distortion hunt. A day no different from any other. And I stood there, shoulders slumped, head downcast, watching the sinners trying to work something out. Maybe I had my right hand on my clock equivalent of a forehead. If this thing in place of my head runs on batteries or something, that's probably where it was, because it was starting to get pretty warm up there.
Hey! It's our girl.
I love her. Also, I love that it's voice acted.
I know. The manager Dawn Gotcha Money goes crazy. Fully voice acting their April Fools bit.
No, same. Also, you saying left-handed confirmed. Actually, I don't know if we should be reading it after they speak, just in case, anyone's just listening to audio. I realized that after.
I think we could just keep going. I'm more excited for the reaction. You and I can read it. I believe in the literacy of our fan base.
He's tripping over his feet.
This is what happens whenever we hit win rate. The LCB checkup confirmed it.
Real.
I guess you should probably read Dante just because there is no voice line.
Oh yeah. Okay, guys, everyone, let's pull back for now, regroup, and. I love Heathcliff. Regroup and. Sinclair's so cute.
This is why they needed a manager.
It really is. Reading comprehension, what's that? A type of suspension? Probably Heathcliff and backup unit.
Heathcliff has better IDs than you do, Faust, okay? Let's calm down.
I also like the fact that it's apparently confirmed once again diegetic that backup units are a real thing.
Yeah.
Because like here she's like, let's play Heathcliff as a backup unit. Hey Faust, can you check if the contract's still linked? I don't think any of them can hear my voice.
관리자님, 신뢰를 무릅쓰고 급히 부탁드리겠습니다.
Oh, it's my girl.
Oh, I knew Otis still had my back.
째깍이시는 소리가 다소 난잡하여 전황 파악이 어렵습니다. 조용히 좀 해주시겠습니까?
Otis! No!
Wait, all right. Something's going on here.
Oh my gosh. CH is clockhead. I'm slowly learning Ryoshi's
Clockhead.
language. Also, oh my gosh, Waxed and Mystery Miss, welcome in, welcome in. And oh my gosh, literally as well. I'm hoping I'm seeing everyone. Man, what's gotten into them today? They're refusing to listen to a word I'm saying. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the importance of the voice acting. Are we limbussin or winbussin? Today we're actually not win rating. Probably not. We're just doing the little event, so I wonder if they'll finally learn to work with me once I force them to walk in each other's shoes. I guess frustration pushed me to say those words out loud. With that, I looked away briefly from the battle, only to realize that someone was staring right at me. She's so cute, Karen.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, Dark Black. Thank you for the raid. Thank you. I'm Cinna. I'm a Satyr Fawn Boy. It's wonderful to meet you. I'm playing the event tonight, the Limbus Company update. I'm so excited. I've been waiting all day to play it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm here with Pryor. We're doing a quick one tonight.
Hello,
I'm
everyone.
supposed to stream tonight, but I
Yeah,
also run a Project Moon TTRPG for anyone curious.
Yes. This is we're doing valuable note taking, of course, for the lore. It's when we learned Kim Ji-hoon was willing to put critical plot lore in the skill names of IDs. We can't even wait for the April Fools event. For all we know, he's gonna turn right to the camera and be like, "The middle has very specific rules against men with blue hair. Blue hair specifically. They are to be beaten to death on sight." So that's why we just got to know as soon as possible.
Real. But yeah, I was like, I gotta play it. I can't wait, but I want to play with all of you here. And also GTA 8.5, hello. The little event? Is it not actually little, Delvin? Dark, oh, I'm excited. Also, Charon, I love Charon. I agree, she is the greatest sinner. Myron. Vroom, vroom. And yes, no spoils, everyone. Peak, it is peak. Oh, you do have some things to say? I'm so excited to hear them, literally. Oh, ahem. I didn't really mean what I said, Charon. I guess you can't hear me anyway. Oh no.
When making wishes, no takesy backsies.
Wait, can Charon grant wishes? Also, go for it, buddy. I can't fully read stuff tonight since I'm rushing through, but I hope you know I'm excited to. I always read over chat after in my VODs. And Ginger, hello, welcome in. After that cryptic exchange, Charon nonchalantly returned to cleaning Mistopheles as if she hadn't even been looking in my direction. Her art was redone? Ooh. Well, I guess this is hardly the first time she said something weird. Remember that Charon line? I don't know if I should be worried about that. Surmising that they're probably...
I can't wait to learn that Charon is actually a golden bow. Like, surprise!
I mean, we know what Charon is from Leviathan, right?
True.
Surmising that there probably wasn't much to what she said, I slowly turned around to look at the sinners again.
야, 저거 파편이 튕기잖아. 거기 조심해. 관리자 양반.
This is what my sinners are like whenever I hit win rate. Also, oh my gosh, yes, I'm so excited for Middle Claire, everyone. Mid-Claire. I heard the loud and clear clang of something bouncing off a metal plate. Oh? My vision flashed black, if such a thing was even possible, and I felt a strong shock to my upper back.
God damn it, they let someone hit Dante!
Come on, sinners, you're supposed to protect me.
You have literally one job, sinner.
From the sinners have one job and now they're all fired. Middle Claire! And yeah, Charon's the bus driver. Vroom, vroom. Oh no,
Hey,
Dante.
okay?
Also, oh my gosh, Dark, I'm so sorry. I should ask, what were you up to tonight? Because I'd love to hear about it. Were you also playing this? Were you also doing the event, Dark, just now? I think I'm fading. Whatever. Thinking was becoming increasingly bothersome anyway. I feel like a slab of lead. Maybe a little nap will lift my spirits. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on it, Dark. I saw the sinners gather around me through my blurry, fading vision and... a star, huh? Between them, a falling star shooting off to somewhere. And after some unknown amount of time...
야, 일어나 시계 대가리.
Hi, Heathcliff.
Hi, Heathcliff.
When did I fall asleep? That must be Heathcliff trying to wake me up. Oh, did I hit my head on something and pass out?
지금 퍼질러 잘 때가 아니라니까.
Oh, Heathcliff. Always dozing off, always so slow to wake up. And he's got the nerve to get mad when I'd like a few more minutes of shut-eye. Yeah, well, I guess that's who Heathcliff is. Absolute cinema. But that's funny. His voice sounds slightly higher pitched than it usually does.
Oh, here we go.
깨라고.
Okay,
All right, this
so
is
I'll let
already
you-
this is
I'll
already
let you know,
peak.
this is the part I got up to. This is the part I got up to. And then I said, okay, I can't play anymore. I love his expression.
We should let Sinclair speak like this all the time.
I think Sinclair should always talk like this, because this is peak. Also, the voices are so good.
Also,
Oh my gosh.
honestly, I can understand why this is fully voiced. I bet Kim Jong-un went to the voice actors, said what they're doing, and they're like, please let us pretend to be each other. This would be so funny.
It's so good. It's so good, Pete Claire. I'm also so glad it was. Something's wrong. Something's not right. Sinclair, was that you? What, is everything all right? Sinclair said a naughty word, Immortal. Oh.
지금 무슨 일이
Does it seem like you bloody?
This is perfection. It really is. You screenshot every new expression. I will say I've been seeing, that's the reason I knew about this, is I've been seeing the expressions as like profile pictures everywhere. They're so good.
This
Also,
is we should let Sinclair make these expressions all the time. What am I talking? This is the new expression work that I can Kim Jong-un, knowing that the next Kanto deadline is coming up. He's got so much work to do, and he's like, no, artists, you don't understand. We need custom expressions for every single sinner for this April Fools Kanto.
Oh my gosh, no, he's real for that though. He's real for that though. No, the impressions are so good. I can't wait to see Smiling Ryoshu. Oh my gosh.
Oh god, is there Smiling Ryoshu? Alright, no one else in the chat spoil me. I have no idea what the hell's happened.
I'm so excited for Hong Lin Faust. Okay, I won't. Yeah, no more spoiling everyone, but I'm
I don't
so
know
excited.
anything. I know I avoided I opened up my Twitter, I saw that there was a new event and I closed it immediately.
Can confirm. Pryor was dodging stuff I was throwing at him all day.
You bloody muppet.
I love you, bloody Muppet. Oh, wow, Sinclair. I didn't know you had it in you to pull a prank like this. Wow. Yoshi Haruka, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. Welcome to the herd. No, Byron, you are all good. Do not worry. Do not worry at all. Don't worry. I have seen that. So you are all good. You don't need to worry at all. And like, I'm gonna be real. I think Pryor's caught on to what the bit is at this point.
I see the bit. I knew it was body swapping related, but now I'm just like I don't know what each sinner's gonna look like. I bet. Oh god, are we gonna get expressive Marisol?
I hope we get expressive Marisol. I won't say what I've seen floating around. No, don't shame them. Also, yes, they did the April Fool's update delve, and it's so. I mean, I've just started, but it's so good. No comments. Yes, thank you, literally. And yeah, no, this is the expression Sinclair made. I think this is honestly Sinclair should call Cromer a bloody Muppet. I think that would be very funny.
I think Demian should be called a bloody Muppet. I just think that would be funny.
That would be very funny. Also, yeah, no, Tyra's boy is swearing. So talk about that. Oh, you play too quickly to be spoiled. Let's go, Immortal. Also, yes, you should complete Kanto 5. Kanto 5 is so good. And yeah, no, feel free to, Delvin. Have fun playing it yourself. I hope you enjoy it. I love having you here. I hope you have an awesome time playing it for yourself. Oh man, I need Heathcliff to make these sort of faces more too.
어떻게 하죠?
Heathcliff whimpering audio 24 hours. This isn't a prank, is it? Sinclair scowling and muttering all kinds of horrible obscenities. Heathcliff timidly peeking out from some corner in the far back, trembling.
Oh no!
Yeah,
This is so
no.
good.
This doesn't make any sense. Whatever is going on here, I've got to get away.
That would be my reaction too.
Oh no, same. I'm glad you did, Bonnie. You're gonna beat Kanto 5 on your own terms, which means being the middle thug Ricardo with the Kurokuma clan. You got this, Flax. I jumped to my feet and sprinted full speed to the corridor to look for other sinners. Guys, anyone, something's wrong with Heathcliff and Sinclair. Ah, I must have ran into someone. Who? Oh, are we about to get smiling Ryoshu? Ryoshu, sorry. I'm kind of in the middle of a crisis right now. Did you... Wait, why didn't Ryoshu just sidestep me? I looked up from the ground toward
Dramatic
Ryoshu.
slow pen up.
I love this. And saw her making an expression I don't think she's ever made. No, an expression I don't think she'll ever make.
단테님, 괜찮으신가요?
I need her to look at me like this. I love her. She's so cute. Hi, Ryoshu. This is really scary, but also I love her.
No,
익숙하질 않아서 밑에 단테님을 피하지 못했네요. 다치신 곳은
Oh my gosh. The flight or fight response, that is so fair. Listen, I'm flying towards her. She's so cute. Active tracking normally. Just said, I mean, what? Oh my god, yeah, wait, the cigarette's missing. I love those little attentions to details. Also, this is peak Fiverr. This is indeed absolute peak.
This is the music that would play if Ryoshu smiled at me like that.
Real. The being that inhabited Ryoshu's body reached out to me with a kindly voice. What is the meaning of this? Is she threatening to cut off my wrist for my carelessness? Or is this actually happening?
많이 놀라셨죠?
Oh my gosh!
다른 수감자분들은 버스에서 단테님을 기다리고 계세요.
Soft Ryoshu isn't real. She can't hurt you, Soft Ryoshu.
Oh my god.
제 손을 잡고
Oh my god, please post it, Myron. Please post it. I need to see that. I'll take her hand. Young!
That would also be...
갑자기 정말로 진짜
All fours! That's so good. Terror.
Bro's doing the fucking Miles Morales, like, getting chased. He's doing the Miguel chasing Miles Morales thing.
Yeah, he actually is. Terror, heightened by the sheer incomprehensibility of the situation, shot from my body as all warmth drained from my extremities. I couldn't even steady myself on my feet before desperately scrambling away. I've got to get the hell out of. Oh. Oh my god. Hi, Marisol.
왜 이렇게 늦었어?
Hi, Honglu.
우리가 얼마나 찾았는데.
Oh my gosh.
있잖아. 일어나니까 다들 뒤죽박죽이 되어 있었다니까.
Oh my gosh.
No, or is this Honglu, or is this...
It's gotta be Roja, right? She always does the little, what are they called? The squigglies. The squigglies.
Yeah.
They're like royally put in chat. The little squiggly lines. Raja Marisol. Oh my god. I need, can they keep switched?
It's such a... No, oh my god.
수감자들의 수면
Marisol?
원인 불명의 이유로 모든 수감자의 정신을
Okay, no, this is peak.
Oh, I love this.
Kim Jae-hoon, take all my worldly possessions and money. I am buying tickets to pull on the next banner.
Same. The impressions are so good.
지난 밤
Can we just have them both be Marisol? That's so fair, literally. Honestly, I think that would be so fun. Oh my god!
특히 표정. 아 웃겨. 그치 단테?
I love him. I love him. Oh my god. Scowling Roja and expressive Marisol is something I needed.
발생 추정 시각은 지남. 웃겨서 못 따라하겠어.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I need to turn the volume a bit louder. What's the talking volume? Is that the master? I think it's master.
I think if you scroll down, there's voices beneath it.
Oh, voice. Oh,
Oh,
all
is
the
our-
way up. Cool.
So you can turn
Cool.
master up and background and music down if you want to make the voices louder.
I think this is good. I think this is good.
Alright.
Gap Moe Marisol is something I need. I also would. Can we get announcer swaps? That's such a
Oh,
good
please?
idea. Wait, I love that, Byron. Like the idea of this swaps as announcers. Oh, that's
Just
true,
all,
really.
all 12 sinners as one announcers just doing each other's voice as a riff.
Yes. Funniest thing ever? This. Faust. I need to find Faust.
파우스트는 버스 앞열 좌측 두 번째 좌석에 있습니다.
Thank you, but can you point it out for me? I can't think straight right now hearing your voice talking like,
물론입니다, 관리자님.
oh boy.
It
Ooh,
will be
what
done,
includes...
manager.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
I just said it'll be done, manager. Rio.
Oh my god, it's so good. All right. Faust time. Faust time. I'm so excited.
Oh boy. Okay.
I couldn't muster this.
Okay. I'm gonna call it
Uh-huh.
Don Quixote Faust.
Oh my god, I need that. I couldn't muster the
Please-
strength to thank him.
Please be.
So I stumbled to the seat that Roja pointed me toward. I hope it is. I hope it is. But oh wait, what would be the identities included, Immortal? Oh wait.
관리자.
She sounds pretty normal.
They're gonna pull it on us. They're gonna pull it on us. I know it.
Faust. Oh, what a relief. So you're okay, huh? What's going? She's so cute. She's so
Never mind.
cute.
I retract every negative thing I've ever said about Faust.
Inspired. She's so cute. I love you. Faust.
Best girl, new best girl found.
Real. Oh, I love her. Also, Fire Fist Don Quixote. Yes. She's like she eats rocks. I think we should feed our Faust rocks.
Me feeding my homunculi. Rocks I found on my walk outside.
Real. Oh. We are so finished. Of all people.
Did Dante just say it's so over, chat?
He really did. He said it's Jover. It had to be Don Quixote. Of all people.
필이라니. 무슨
Oh
그런
my god, Pout! The Pout is so cute! You made emotes? Can you send them to me royally? I need those. Oh, Marisol IDs, please. You saved them? Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, I need these. I need these immediately so I can use them because she's so cute.
보다 말일세 날이 본인 파우스트 군의 모습이 되어
Oh,
신기한 변화를 느끼고 있네.
oh.
Wait, hold on.
똑똑한 느낌이라고 할지 눈이 트인 느낌이라 할지
Wait. Is Don Quixote linked to the Don Quixote assault?
Wait,
Is the Gestalt? Is it the Don Quixote Gestalt right now?
the Discord Quixote. Wait. Okay, so is it confirmed they get each other's powers then? Like there's a bunch of Don Quixotes now? Or is it like the Faust? Is it one Don Quixote and a bunch of Fausts?
Either way, that's the funniest thing possible. Either one would be fine. If this was Don Quixote communing with all other Don Quixote, that'd be funny. But imagine you're in the Faust Discord call and suddenly you hear Sally for the Rocinante.
It's my first day at Faust High School. I hope they don't realize I'm Don Quixote. Also, oh my god, Faust was banned from the Faust Chord? Don Quixote, hacking in. Anyway, who will put your things of known the server? Let's go, please do, literally. Faust's confused. Why is there a gremlin here? I love that. Also, yeah, no, it's so awesome hearing Faust like non-monotone. Like the voice actors are killing it. I love this.
마치 눈앞에 그려지듯이 예측할 수 있네. 끝내주는 모험을 펼친 후 시민들의 환호를 받으며 개선하는 용맹한 흰 머리칼. 아니, 노란 머리칼.
Hold on. She started saying white-haired. Is she getting, like, assimilated into the Faust cord? I also love the stars in her eyes. Good morrow, chat. Don Quixote was banned from the Faust cord.
그럴 리는 없습니다.
Aww.
다른 정신이 깃들었다 하여 해당 소유자의 지식 혹은 그 너머의 권한까지 전이되지는 않습니다.
Oh,
Knowledge
okay, so
certain authorizations beyond thereafter for those in the original body are not transferred to the other merely because their consciousness have been switched. Okay, they're literally saying Don Quixote was immediately banned by the Discord call.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Also, yeah, no, I see the Sancho vibes. Don Quixote peeking into the Faust cord gets referenced. I hope so too. I really hope so. I know it is cursed. It's so strange seeing like them talk as each other, especially because some of the sinners have a much more distinctive speaking style than others. I feel like Dawn was instantly recognizable. Raja was pretty much instantly recognizable. Not Sinclair. Heathcliff was instantly recognizable. Oh my gosh.
또한 방금 말씀하신 것은 예측이 아니라 상상이라 말하는 것이 올바릅니다.
Oh, okay, it was just her imagining things. Also, Red, hello. Thank you so much. Have some good lurks. I really appreciate it. And have so much fun with Library of Runa. I think that's awesome to keep yourself in the dark about that. So thank you so much for the kind words and for popping in to lurk. Oh, yeah, no, Yisangs is also... I love his flowery language, Robin.
오, 안 그래도 잡고 있었네. 파우. 아니, 돈키호테라고 해야 하나?
Oh, wait. Is she trying to pretend like she's... Okay, I can't tell if she's getting confused who she is, or if she's trying to, like...
I think she's literally just role-playing Faust right now.
Oh, that's so funny. Wait.
That's why she said golden-haired one, because she was like, wait, I have a vision from the Faust sculpt, and it says Don Quixote is awesome.
머릿속에서 자꾸
Oh my gosh.
소리가 들리는 것 같은데. 본인 무슨 병에 걸린 것인가?
From the
Love the Faust roleplay. Oh my god. That's so funny.
앉아보세요. 아무래도 긴 이야기가 될 것 같습니다.
Oh. Also, has anyone been having trouble getting Sina channel points? Wait, is there something wrong with my channel points? Oh no! I really hope you get them, Ginger. I'm not sure why they wouldn't be working. Also, yes, that's a drier question. Don Quixote's finally tall, by the way. But she already got banned from the Faust Lord. Banned. I'm so excited for them, Robin. I'm so excited. Also, yes, Finn! Hello, welcome in! It is a body swap special! It's the April Fools special. I'm glad you've been getting the Meru. Is this even the time to... Oh, it's Otis. Otis?
Oh no, who's Otis?
Oh wait, no. Who are you? Dante had the same question as you, bro. There's a hint of anxiety coupled with a profound sense of melancholy.
Wait.
In her eyes.
Okay, who could it be? It's Ishmael? Ryoshu?
No, they gotta be switching 1-to-1 would be my guess. So Don Quixote and Faust. Marisol and Roja. We don't know who's in Ryoshu, but I have suspicions.
I guess Hong Lu probably, I imagine.
Yeah, Hong Lu, Ryoshu, Sinclair, Heathcliff. So this has gotta be either Yisang, Gregor, Ishmael.
Oh, I'm very sorry, chat. Sarah just sent a message to the chat. Let me get her out of my desk.
Meru is a gluttonous beast. Prior spamming my chat mods.
Yeah, my cat had an important message for you all. I hope you all enjoy that one.
Might not be gender matched. That's true. Okay, wait. So maybe it's Ishmael, Gregor. There's melancholy anxiety. I'm thinking Yiseng.
It could. Oh my God, he's saying Otis. Wait.
걱정하지 마시오. 단테. 나도 아직
No, you're
모르는
right.
일이라
Oh,
It is you saying Otis.
분석하는 것이
yeah, this is him. This is him. Oh my gosh. Yes, thank you, Sarah. It's not gender matched. Someone's egg was cracked on Trans Day of Visibility too. Let's go.
내 이놈!
I think they should stay in each other. I think we should get Yiseng like this more often. This is really funny.
You
Yiseng should have rolled up on Dong Grang like this.
Dongrain's like, oh, what's the matter, Yiseng? And Yiseng just hits him with the you dare. He's like, whoa, calm down, whoa.
Oh my gosh. What I'd imagine his indignant fury would sound like. I love Mad Yiseng. I love angry Yiseng. The eyebrows are so good, Myron. They're so good.
내 형상을 뒤집어 쓰고 감히 관리자님의 오른팔 자리를 찬탈하려 들다니.
I love her assuming. You know what? Yiseng honestly is probably like, hey, can we keep this? I'm now the second strongest, not the weakest.
Yeah.
You dare, kitty
I
paw.
I have borrowed someone else's wings. Fly borrowed wings and.
Oh my gosh.
버릇없이 나의 목소리로 관리자님을 낮잡아 부르지 마라.
I guess his wings were a Trojan horse.
We're executing Prior live on stream right now, everyone.
그런 것이 아니오.
Oh my gosh.
오티스 양.
Wait, I have the stupid drum sound, don't I? Wait.
Yeah, I did.
There you go.
Yeah.
The wings had a purpose. Yay, I'm glad you got them again. I'm sorry it took so long for you to get them, Ginger. I'm sorry the Cinna points weren't working. Flying round-nosed wings.
That's not the mistake that goes proportion. Ah!
그런 흉을 내내 마음속에 쥐고 있었나?
Oh my gosh.
Otis has had her eyes on Yiseng since the beginning. Otis was like, I'm fucking watching you. I know what you want.
She really did. She really did. She was like, I know you've been coming for my position. I like her thinking that Yiseng orchestrated all of this.
This was his plan the whole time.
Stop. Oh my god. We do need popcorn for this Fiverr. Five Broken Odyssey.
단테. 저기. 그래.
I need Marisol talking like this more often.
좀 물어봐줘.
They just needed to drop him doing this once in the middle of a canto and never reference it.
I hope so. I really hope so. Also, is this canon? I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out. I guess we'll find out at the end of the event.
I mean, the last April Fool's event was canon.
That's true. That's true. So I hope this is ideal for ideal man over here.
네 놈이 하면 될 것 아닌가?
Oh, I'm so excited for Gregor.
그게
We're finally gonna see Potential Man.
Let's go.
초콜릿을 먹을 때 뭐가 나올지 몰라서 살짝 초조한 느낌이랄까.
Oh my gosh. I love this expression of his. He's so cute.
He looks so afraid, Marisol. No.
이봐, 말이 심하다고.
Oh, this Gregor. I see the cigarette. They're just mentioning Gregor.
Gregor Ishmael.
I need this Ishmael in my life. He did randomly pick up Ryoshu's speaking style during
The
C, so they could. Oh my god, I hope.
The perfect woman doesn't exist, Gregor Ishmael.
No, that's real. That's real. I need Gregor Ishmael in my life. Tell us. Make it stop.
Make it stop.
Pablo!
이렇게 됐어?
Oh my
나도
gosh.
어떻게 돌아가는지 모르겠네.
Pablo can tell who the real Gregor is.
Pablo can.
Pablo isn't even interested in Gregor for his, like, bug attachments. Pablo is ride or die for Gregor himself.
Real. Yes. Oh my gosh. No, thank you so much, Marley and Myron, for pointing that out. I love Pablo. They're so cute. Potential woman. Also,
Potential
goodbye,
woman.
Marley. Take care.
Goodbye.
Oh, Immortal, you also pointed out. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I appreciate you all pointing out Pablo. I love Pablo. And thank you for the lurks. Thank you, thank you. The fellas is so good.
버스에서 잠들었다가 일어나서 처음 본 게 팔뚝을
Woke up a
보고
nap and
또
saw myself
가만히
over there looking at my own arm with that same glum look. That's such a good voice. God. Ishmael's voice actor playing Gregor? Confirmed?
It's so good. I love it. All right, I'm gonna put Perps. I'm gonna put Perps on my head. Perps has been summoned. All right, there we go. There we go. You didn't know Pablo?
Sarah, you gotta go, babe. You cannot sit here. Do you have any words for the camera?
Is she quiet? Does she not want to say anything?
She just muted my microphone.
She doesn't want you to speak. She doesn't want to say anything. She just doesn't want you to speak.
You have to understand, my microphone has like a pressure button you can hit on the front to auto mute it, and she just, I picked her up and put her in front of the camera, and she put both of her paws on it.
She said, stop talking. She said.
She really is.
Oh my
but
gosh.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh no.
Pyre was silenced. Also, I've never tried. I've no taste never trying because that does sound like it would taste really gross, Vin. You're starting to see N Grinder's perspective. Oh my gosh. Also, yeah, there is both now, Pablo and Perps. I'm excited to see the other fellows. Karen.
Poor Ishmael. Imagine waking up and you're suddenly potential, man.
Real potential woman.
Look, I'm a sea woman, all right.
이런 물과는 상극인.
Oh, she doesn't like this. Greg, I mean Ishmael, mutters with a voice that clearly wished she was anywhere else. Heron's later. Oh, I'm so excited.
괜찮아져 그게? 나도 처음 거울 볼
Yeah,
구역질을 못 참긴 했는데.
Aww. Yay, you zoomed true. Yippee, welcome back, Delvin.
말은 일부러 피했는데 왜 괜히 또 사람 숙연해지게 그런 말을.
Aww. Pablo's on her head. Yes, oh my gosh, Ken Wolf, welcome in, welcome in. I love Pablo. It's such a cute detail. Seahorse Ishmael. I love seahorses. Ishmael can experience Gregor's trauma strength equilibrium. Gregor's IDs used. Yes. Oh my gosh.
이런 한심하고 미련한
Oh
것.
my god, I love you saying like this.
몸뚱아리가 바뀌었다고 금방 정신을 못 차리게 되어버리다니.
다들 미안해. 저것은 나의 몫이나 나의 말이 아니야. 이해해 주시게.
He's so embarrassed.
He's like, stop making my body do that. Stop.
I'm
This
in
is
hell.
not ideal. I'm in hell.
Ideal. So, this is what he meant by you will embark on a trip to the Inferno, huh? This is where it was all leading up to.
Dante, I've never related more to Dante in my life.
Oh my gosh. Same. Suddenly one day my body has changed. It is a whole new meaning. I slumped against the side of the bus, having abandoned hope like the rest of ye who boarded it, and let out a sigh as I clutched my painfully throbbing clock.
Whoa, Dante, PG-13 stream.
Whoa, Dante. I'm going to need some time to gather myself before I even start thinking about a solution. Wait, we haven't seen Hong Lu yet.
Listen, they're
later.
just gonna erase Hong Lu and see how long it takes us to notice.
Real, they killed him.
이렇게 조금 부끄럽긴 하군 그래.
So
She's
perfect.
so cute. She's
Why
so
isn't this
cute.
the Faust we got? Why wasn't this the Faust we got?
Oh my gosh, it would have been wild if Faust always acted like this. Oh my gosh. No, that's so real, Fiverr. A popcorn would not have. You've never heard clock? Abandon all hope, all ye who enter. That one L in clock saving this game's rating. Real.
네 놈에게 안 물었다.
I wasn't talking to you.
Don't-
Fine, then, Don Quixote.
Oh my god, I love angry
He
you
sounds so. He sounds so authoritative. I'm like, I feel like like I don't think their strength could transfer, so like all of them could beat Yitseng.
beat him up, but it's so funny. Also, oh my gosh, King, I also want to see the managers swap bodies now. Who do you think would be swapped with who? Faust is so cute. I love her expressions. Yes, oh my gosh, I'd also love to hear if any of you have any thoughts on who would swap with who. 'Cause that
She's
is
just
so
making the
peak
most.
agreed, Byron.
She's just making the most brainless expression in the background. I love her.
Same.
They should have let her have access to the Discord call.
They should have. They should have.
불렀는가?
Oh my god. Me when I have to switch NPCs. Dante, it would have been really cool if Dante got a body swap too.
이 개판이네.
He's like an angry, like, he reminds me of one of those little, Sinclair always reminded me of one of those little aggressive dogs. And like even more, like now more than ever.
You went from like Chihuahua to like Shih Tzu.
Yeah. Dawn is so puppy. Oh, Kyra and Pry swap? That would be so fun, Immortal. Kai and Meru's body would be funny. I agree, Myron. I think Kai and Meru's body would be so funny because it would be like happy Meru, like smiling Meru, anger small chick. He is so angry and small. He is a little chick. Aw. Mixed Meru, Kai Pryor, Yuna Ange. Yuna Ange would be so fun to see, King. Wait, I love all of these swaps. I love all of them so much. So what the April Fool's stream should be, the manager's body swapped and Yuna confused as hell. I love that idea, Body. I think that would be so good. He is Pomeranian. I love him. Virgilius bus drivers whose name you can't remember swap. Karen? Oh. And no, I agree. I agree. That would be so amazing. Like, I agree with you, Fiverr. Everyone, one at a time. Please. I think I might actually go insane if I hear more than 3 of you talking at once.
추정되는 원인은 있습니다. 어젯밤은 25만 401일에 도시를 지나가는 것이 예정되어 있던.
Did we just get the exact day? Did we just get like an exact time
Hold on.
in the city?
Whoa. 250401 divided by 365. That would be year 686.
That we're in year 894. Huh. Interesting. I'm curious what this means. I'm curious what these numbers mean.
Day 0 might mean something different.
That's true.
That could be a specific day counting from something.
Oh, true. Also, yeah, chat is missing out on the absolute comedy of Pryor swapping into Meru's body and being a foot shorter. I think that would be so funny. But Easter egg. I'm curious what the Easter egg is, Flax. I also hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm very bad with names sometimes. Is it Flaxed? Might actually be an exact date. Welcome to the 6th century. And yeah, no, that would seem to be a bit of time difference. Huh. Everyone shut the fuck up or I'm having a stroke. Isn't the day just the date of April Fools? Wait! Oh my gosh, wait, you're right, Myron. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Myron, we were looking too much into it. It's literally 2025.
2025 0401. Okay, well played.
They got us. We really thought that we were about to have to restruct the timeline again.
Listen, do you think Kim Jong-un wouldn't? Do you think Kim Jong-un wouldn't?
That's true. Also, the numerous existences of the Yin Sim. Every way of pronouncing flaxed is correct. For we all possess I can write you as missed if you prefer. Oh, the comet's name? Wish?
Yeah, it's Wish. Yeah,
W15H.
W15H.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love Dante crashing out.
도시의 소문으로는
rumor.
바라보며 소원을 빌게 되면
Oh.
희박하지만 그 소원이 이루어진다고 합니다.
So Dante made this real, so it's Dante's fault.
So okay, this tells me that this is a non-canonical event.
That's true.
I do not think they're adding wishing meteors, or maybe they are. Maybe they are, and that's just a thing. That's just a thing we'll have to deal with. Wishing meteors, canonical to Project Moon.
100,000 channel point, you get a wishing meteor.
Wait, actually, I know exactly how they're gonna do this. I just realized the last Midsummer Night, Dante's clock went crazy, and then he viewed a bunch of mirror worlds. So this is I bet you, because he got hit on the head in the opening prologue, we're witnessing a mirror world right now. So they're actually telling us that wishing meteors are canonical to a mirror world, at least one.
Oh, wait, that's so interesting. Also, that's real Ginger. He is like surprise new lore. But that would make a lot of sense prior. Some giants just throwing rocks. Maybe one of the meteors has Yoxie. Oh my god, Palp reference. Remember that tearful thing origin story? Are the meteors have to do with the tearful thing, maybe?
Okay. Here's okay. This is my hot take. This is not a canonical theory. The tearful thing is just a distortion. Or like some form.
Before the light days and dark nights?
Because we know, assuming that he hasn't retconned it again, ego manifestation and corrosion existed before Carmen. Even though Carmen is the mother of all distortions, I assume it has something to do with whatever the river of oblivion or the source of all distortions and ego is.
Also, the mystery wolf. Sorry, I need to cut you off. I just want to thank them for the follow, but please continue.
No, that's just my personal theory. Is where I don't think the tearful thing is like this completely other power system. I assume it's going to relate eventually back to the well and the stars and distortion and corrosion and human will, because the tearful thing was human originally.
That is true. That would be really interesting. I could see that. I could definitely see them being connected, and I'm so curious to see like what they go with and what they do. And also that's true. He could make anything canon. And oh my gosh, Miso, welcome in. Hello. No, same Fiverr, mine too. Also, Mystery Wolf, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. And Chess, thank you for introducing a new friend to me. It means a lot. Do you know anything occurred during an Outskirts expedition? I believe so, right? Didn't they? Oh, do you mean like, are you saying Immortal, like, if this theory's true, the tearful thing distorted during an Outskirts expedition, or they found it? I guess it could be a mutant. Also, hello, Big Bro, hello. Do we know for a fact the tearful thing was initially human? Wasn't it found in the Outskirts?
I believe the story for the tearful thing is that they took a child out to the outskirts or whatever. They found a child in the outskirts, and the child made a wish or something, and then became the tearful thing. Or that's at least the propaganda version that we're told.
Right. Okay. Right. That I think I remember that. I need to go back to Canto 4, but I believe yeah. Child, the founder of K-Corp, brought him to the outskirts. So, I'm very excited to see, because I feel like you're right, Prior, and I'm really hyped to see if that's the case. Also, Royally, welcome back. So that would be curious if this meteor is related to that then.
Yeah. We also know all abnormalities were once human, and there are abnormalities that predate the like Lobotomy Corporation existing.
That is true. That is very true. Also, it is so strange to me. So I love them seeing talk like each other. It could just be an abnormality backstory, like how the birds were just extracted and not really from the Black Forest. Oh, that's true, Bonnie. The Ego Fathoms version, hard to fake that. I think it's just I think definitely that is true. It is hard to fake Ego Fathoms. We do know you can fake and obscure things, given what happened with Hohenheim, but I think regardless, it's going to be exciting to see what it turns out to be. And they definitely, given wishes.
That is actually an important thing that Kim Jae-hoon can do to fake us out with Ego Fathoms. Because an Ego Fathom is based on perceptive truth. Hohenheim's Fathoms was based off both his understanding of the situation and his perceived truth of himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be fair, Donggrain's stuff should be taken as true as far as Donggrain knew and understood it.
Agreed. No, absolutely. Which
there's so much Limbus Company lore. There's so much lore. Me and Cinna have spent so many nights screaming at Discord calls at one another as we like go diving for like obscure knowledge hidden in like one-off lines in the middle of a canto.
Can confirm. We put so much research in. Feel like a baby in terms of knowledge? No, you're good, miss. You're good. It's one of those things where there's a lot of lore. And, a big thing is there's always so much to learn. And I think that's the exciting thing about going through the games is you're like, whoa, there's always new lore to find and learn. You hope mid-Claire is the standard banner ID and not season 5. I actually don't remember what Mid-Claire is, but regardless, I'm so excited for Mid-Claire. I thought Mid-Claire was the season 1, but I could be wrong. Also, welcome in. He's what?
I think you mean season 5. I don't think he's a season 1 banner.
Sorry, a season 1, like a season banner. That's
yes.
I can't speak, everyone. Yes. And Dexter Rock, welcome in. It's so good, but in comparison to the first April Fools event and Horse Virgilius.
All right. Let's keep it rolling.
그런 별도 있었나요?
Oh my gosh, I love Heathcliff like this. Also, yeah, that is true. Hohenheim did have an immense amount of will compared to most. I love Hohenheim so much. And I do agree with you on that, Myron. Your brain's not braining. No, you're good, Miso. And the lore madness is so good, Dragon. Horse Virgilius announcer when? Real. Oh, Mid-Claire standard. Oh shit, nice. Horse Virgilius. You love expanding on the ruins outskirts because it's so mysterious that the stuff you come up with might as well be canon. Yes! No, I love seeing what people come up with, Bonnie. It's so fun to see.
All right. This isn't a chap yet react stream. Come on. Let's keep it going. We do want to finish it before
just like hearing from everyone.
Listen, this is a reaction stream, Senna. This is a reaction stream.
그런 낮은 확률이 이루어진 건가요? 낭만적이네요.
Oh my gosh. It's Smiley Ryoshu again.
아니, 그저 클리셰다.
Oh my god. I like how Honglu's got the cigarette.
자, 솔직히 고해할 시간을 주지.
Oh my gosh.
Wherever you are, I will give you a chance if you give yourself up.
I love that. Also, thank you, Vin. You're so sweet. I do have work I need to do tonight, so I do need to rush through. Please know I'm not ignoring you all. I love hearing from all of you. Please keep feeling free to chat. If I don't say anything or react, please know I'm not ignoring it. I'll be able to chat more on Wednesday. So I'll be here, and Wednesday's my yapping day. I can't wait to see the switch up when she finds out that it's Dante.
꼬라지가 좋지 않아. 미안하구려.
Unideal.
지금이라도 털어놓는다면 목숨을 3번 잃는 것으로 용서를.
I'd like to see. I mean, I guess that's technically that's a sinner exclusive punishment.
Yeah, that's true. So I think I'm the one who made the wish. She's saying. I mean, Otis. The gas is so good.
관리자님이시란 말씀입니까?
Vibration.
Is this a variant of the happy music, of like the joke music? I kind of muttered to myself about how I wished you guys would learn how to be in each other's shoes because everyone just refused to listen to me during our last hunt. Also, Delvin, take care. Good night. Thank you so much for coming in and get some good eeps.
이제 어쩌시게요, 오티스 씨? 목이라도 벨 건가요?
See Ishmael's sass come out of Gregor is so good.
It is. Having recovered from the initial shock, Ishmael in Gregor's form taunted Otis.
어떻게 그러겠어? 왜? 진짜 그것 때문이라는 보장도 없고.
Oh my gosh, Dexter Rock, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Welcome in. It's so good to have you here.
근데 관리자 양반, 진짜 뭐 방법 없겠어?
I love that Gregor called us manager, bud.
Anyway, manager bud, got any good ideas?
제 몸으로 담배 피우지 마시라고요.
I love this.
안 피워. 그냥 물고만 있는 거야.
Aww.
Seeing Israel make that expression with a lighter. Oh.
Yes. I do love the fact that Gregor's like, I'm not actually going to smoke in your body. I'm just going to put the cigarette in the mouth.
You know what? I respect Gregor.
Same.
Oh, hi, my new wife.
Real.
야, 돌았냐? 이 약골 도련님 같은 꼬라지로 근육.
He's trying so hard.
He is.
I love. Oh, that it's even still great. Wait, that they even kept his character to even the Heathcliff's like, oh, I didn't mean it.
It's so good. I love Heathcliff and Sinclair. They're so cute.
다 뒤. 그리고 시계 돌린다.
Kill everyone? Let's kill everyone and turn
Kill
the clock.
everyone and turn the clock, yeah.
Hong Lu was lighting the 11th cigarette of the day as she reached over her shoulder. That's so good. Then realizing that her sword was no longer there, aggressively clicked her tongue, as aggressively as that could sound. Anyway.
어이, 검 내놓도록.
I really like this Hong Lu.
I love the difference between Gregor not actually smoking in Ishmael's body, meanwhile Ryoshi's chain smoking like there ain't tomorrow.
Yes, Bong Lu. Bong Lu is real. Oh my god. I love Hong Lu's voice here too. How are you so comfortable with chain smoking in someone else's body?
저는 괜찮답니다. 그런데
What were you gonna say?
잘안 뽑히네.
I was like, that's the most Honglu reaction possible. I was like, also this game already is predicting what I'm saying.
Oh my gosh, real.
그 검 뽑을 때
Oh.
각오는 해라.
Oh, the eye is
Glowy,
glowing.
oh, glowy eye?
Oh. Ryoshu, in Hong Lu's appearance, muttered in a low, cold voice at Hong Lu, who in Ryoshu's appearance was trying to unsheathe the sword. Hong Lu.
나는 리오슈한테 찬성.
Mara. Soul.
Wait, okay. Crack
Uh-huh.
theory. Is
Yeah.
this confirmation that the sword is Ryoshu's ego?
Oh. Wait, her... Interesting.
Because Honglu just can't unsheath it.
Right. But she did say if you unsheath it, there will be consequences.
Yes.
Which implies he could unsheath it, right?
Or she thinks he can.
Oh. Interesting. Ryoshu already has ego, unlike the rest of the sinners.
Well, it could be, was it like, I know it might be like, Distortion Detective. Where I know they have like
Oh.
ego manifestation that's just like one item. Like, Moses, I think, only has the pipe.
That's true. Wait. I can see that. Oh no, the
Oh, we
ads.
got ads! Hold on, I'll let chat know.
Also, gender fluid, Hong Lu, and transmask Roja are real to me. Those are real to me, Robin. Yes, we'll take a quick break. Because of the ads. But oh my gosh. I love this event. I really love this event, everyone. It's so good. Oh my gosh.
Oh, my goodness.
I also find it funny that Dante's still referring to them as their names, but has switched the pronouns. And take care, Bonnie. Thank you so much. Thank you. I will be sure to hydrate. Shit, I forgot to grab some water, but I'll take as many hydrates there are. I'll take that many sips after stream. Oh my gosh, you know,
I'm sipping a Diet Pepsi. Does that count?
I think that counts. As hydrating. Thank you for the parting gift of water. Thank you. But no, I really like everyone's key items too. I think it's really neat how everyone does have their key items, and the sword being an ego would be so cool. Pepsi. Julia uses it for her ego. That's true. That is true that she does.
Ryoshi's just that much more cracked than everyone else.
Ryoshu.
I mean, I guess
ego.
does the golden bow the golden bow might suppress its power as much as everything else.
True. That is true that it could be. So even if its ego is being suppressed, so it wouldn't be as strong. Oh, the sword's her child turned into an ego weapon. I've heard that too. I've heard about that theory too, Dragon, which I think is really interesting.
Like also Marisol sweetly raised her hand.
Trans femme Marisol is real to me.
I like the idea that Dante is using people's preferred pronouns. I would love if there's just one of them, just one sinner. They're like, they're just like Ryoshu raised her hand, and it's like, whoa, Dante, do you have something to say about Hong Lu?
Listen, gender fluid Hong Lu is real, okay? I know
believe it.
gender fluid Hong Lu is. Yeah, the chains. I love Marisol's chains. Oh my gosh, the chain belt buckle. Anyone uses their actual weapon for their base ego, even Hong Lu, who just uses it to swing the water ribbon. That's true. I have to watch all the base egos at some point again.
I will absolutely say I think it's very funny that chains are so ubiquitous to the middle ID, and then the one center we have with the chain motif has no relation to the middle whatsoever.
I know. Listen, Marisol's secret middle member.
All right, I think we're back from ad jail.
Oh my gosh, yay, we're back from ad jail. But yes, let us continue on.
것 같긴 한데 어느 쪽 류슈씨요?
Which one?
뭔가 기분 전환도 되는 것 같고.
Oh, this is my room was saying trans man Roja real. Because I was like, I saw a lot of people saying that. I was like, based. I support this. But I wasn't sure like why people were saying it, and now I know. That's real. That's real.
이상하네. 알 것 같았는데.
그것은 뒤바뀐 대상과의 상호.
I would want to stay as Marisol too. I understand.
Real.
왜? 메르는 내 몸으로 지내는 거 재밌어. 아, 그쪽도 로자라고 해야 하나? 이거 재밌다.
Why do you? Hey, I'm coming out as transgender Marisol. Okay. Why the fuck do you look like me?
Like me? Oh God.
그저 합당하지 않은.
아니.
I love how Marisol doesn't say it's not fun. Marisol said it's not about if it's fun.
Real trans femme Marisol, trans man Roja, and yes, gender fluid Hong Lu. How come I'm the only one who's taking this seriously? Just as my whole insanity was slowly starting to slip, Don Quixote quietly walked up next to me.
우선 베르길리우스 씨와 면담하는 편이 나을 것 같군요.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I guess he's still back there. Also, I don't know if you want to become Heathcliff because you might have your Earthling after you. I muttered, looking at the bus's back door.
워낙 희박한 확률이라 여전히 확신할 수는 없지만 제 추측대로 유성이 이 현상의 원인이라면 당신의 능력으로도 이들을 돌이킬 수 없을지 모릅니다.
Ideal. What? So you're all just stuck like that forever?
Like this forever?
Imagine we have to play the rest of the game like this.
Kim Jae-hoon, you've done it again.
말씀하지 않으시는 것이 좋습니다. 단테.
I think she shuddered briefly.
일단 이 상태에서
Oh yeah, Faust. I'm sure you're so upset being a second generation blood fiend.
접속할 수 없습니다.
Also, wait, okay, so she can't, so interesting, so she can't access the Faust cord. What if we took off the shoes? Oh, so that's what Don Quixote meant with access denied earlier.
네, 그 신체의 정보를 대리로 얻어오게 시킬 수도 없는 상태죠.
Oh.
Let Don Quixote into the Faust cord.
Real.
뻔히 보이는군요. 아마 수십 년이 지나도
That's so funny.
Wait, okay, so that confirms that they do just have normal conversations. It's not a... It is a Discord call. This confirms it's literally a Discord call.
Oh my gosh. That's so funny to me. Also, I believe in you, Byron. You can be Earthling.
That does mean all the memes of like Faust like putting her fingers to her temples and being like, "What do I do, Faust?" And all the Faust comments are like, "Run, run."
I love that. One of us. I also wouldn't want to be made fun of in the Faust cord.
그리고 저는 그들의 조롱거리로 영구히 박제되는 것을 사용하고 싶군요.
That's so funny. They will shit on Faust, especially N Faust.
Also, fascinatingly, they did hold to it. Faust starts using I pronouns again the second that she's disconnected from the Faust cord.
I really like that detail where Faust uses I but when disconnected and uses Faust when connected. I think that's so cool.
그러니 빠른 상황 개선을 위해
I really feel it would have been very funny if N Faust gave Don Quixote access to the Discord call.
It would be. Oh my gosh.
Who keeps inviting them back to the call? N Faust.
And Faust. So you're primarily motivated by not wanting to get teased to all hell? Okay, fine. But I guess that's the only solution. Can you come with me to help translate?
다른 분을 알아보시죠.
Aww. She looks away. She appeared vehemently opposed to the idea of appearing before other people in her current form. Aww. Well, then, Honglu, can you... I love angry Honglu. Oh, they're gonna roast my ass in the group chat, Dante. We must fix this. That's so good. That's so good.
Crack Faust is going to L Corp. Faust like Faust, we gotta leave. Faust does not understand what the problem is. They leaked the Discord call. Faust, we have to blow up the mirror world.
Oh my gosh. Not now, Dante. I'm currently fighting for my life in chat. The utter Faust keep bullying me. Poor Faust. Poor Faust. I also didn't realize, Faust does refer to her as herself as I a couple of times. I'm curious what moments those are. Oh my god. Nah, sorry. I'm still all mixed up. I meant this Honglu.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go. That's when someone, all of a sudden, kicked the back door open with a loud thud. Virgilius. Next to him was Charon. He brushed past the sinners who had fallen completely silent in his presence, then slumped down on a seat at the front of the bus. He looks terribly irritated. Does he know what's going on? I guess not. He's not acting any differently from his usual self. I brought Ryoshu to the front of the bus and began. Oh my gosh. Virgilius, I don't know if you're aware, but I'll be real and to the point. Something's really bad's happened. It's it's a real mess out here. It's really, really bad. Also, Kylo Ren, welcome in. And Ian, welcome in.
났다고 말씀하시네요. 그게 좀 큰일에 진짜 큰일을 더한 만큼의 큰일인 것 같네요.
Oh my god, I love Ryoshi like this. Can we keep her like this for a bit?
Can we keep only her like this? Can we keep Faust and Ryoshu like this, and everyone else can switch back?
I think that'd be so funny. I need Marisol to stay like this actually too.
Yeah, actually, true. Those two can just switch permanently.
Real. I'm scared that you're all putting little kitty faces in chat. I don't know what's about to happen, but you're all frightening me so bad. I'm so excited, but so scared. You see what I'm talking about, right? Just listen to the weird way Ryoshi's speaking. Like she's smiling when there aren't any dead bodies around.
바로 알 거라고 하시는데요. 근데 저 말투가 이상한가요?
Virgilius does not say a word. He stares at me in utter silence, as though to goad me to continue, or as though he's just as confused as I am about what's going on. Oh, I'm so excited, Dexter Oak. I'm so excited. But it also appeared that he was trying to test me or something, so I began to ramble madly about everything that transpired since I woke up. So, where to begin? It's kind of my fault, maybe, kind of. In a fit of frustration, I fought some stupid wish, or said some wish, it doesn't matter. And a W something, meteor fell, and the meteor was 250,000 something, and,
죄송해요, 단테님. 무슨 말씀인지.
Virgilius' expression remains unchanging. He looks up at me with a gaze that is as bone-chilling as ever. Oh, but there was something different about him.
No, the music stopped. I know what they're gonna do. I see it. I foresee it. Come on, hit us with it.
I'm so excited. I'm also so locked into Mortal. I'm so excited to know what this important thing is. Oh no. There's nothing excluding Virgilius from being a part of this chaos.
Yeah, I knew.
Color fixer, everyone!
My goat is not washed! My goat is not washed! The goat in question.
Me screenshotting this to send to Virgilius fans who say that he's stronger than Gabura, than the Red Mist. Oh. No. Why are you doing this to me? Don't do this to me.
단테님?
버스 기사는 단 걸 먹어야 해.
Can we keep him like this? Honestly, he does have more aura than actual Virgilius. I agree. Fragilius here.
If the red mist, I'm gonna be real. If the red gaze walked up to me and said, "Bus driver needs sweets," I'm giving him some fucking candy.
Same. Actual washed up grade 9 fixer here.
사탕 없이는
I'm
부릉부릉.
coming out in his voice too is getting me.
단테. 대체 어떤 기가 막힌 소원을 빌었길래 일단 난장판이 벌어지는 겁니까?
Oh, this is peak.
Red gaze, Kara.
Hi.
아, 그렇게 된 거군요.
Oh my gosh.
혹시 사탕 갖고 오셨나요, 카로? 아니,
Bring some candies.
I passed out.
I would too.
Me too. The red gaze walks up to me and goes, "Bus driver wants candies. Vroom, vroom." I'm
not
so
asking
scared.
questions. I'm getting her some fucking candy.
I love the Charon voice too. Oh my gosh, the honored one. Sometime later.
왔다. 야, 어떻게 됐어?
This
발판 뭐
expression.
사준 거냐? 단테.
Oh no, they're all here.
뭐가 있지?
Oh, they're all
자꾸
here.
죽살 하자고 말해서 말리느라 진땀 뺐다고.
Oh, the DRs that die, revive method. Oh my gosh. Me want candy starts levitating. Bus driver needs sweets. You're giving the man candy? No, same. Also, yeah, Charon apology forms, everyone. Charon's actually the strongest character. Grab candies and
That's
why.
that's why she was excluded from the lineup.
Real. They couldn't rank her. I alone am the driving one.
이 월도로도 가능하다. 대신 일격필살은
Can't promise to one-hit KO though.
That's so good.
나리, 이것 좀 보시게. 이만한 흰머리 칼이라면
Oh.
지난번에 실패한 북부의 사롱공주 코스프레를 높은 퀄리티로 해낼 수 있지 않겠는가?
Donkey is a cosplayer.
He's a
Wait.
cosplayer.
I love that.
허가할
Also,
수 없어.
another character in lore mentioned, Princess of the White Snow Plains.
Princess of the North Snow Plains. Ooh. That's gotta be a fixer, right? Because
Yes,
Don Quixote's
has to be a
cosplay?
fixer. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so curious. When are we meeting the princess?
아니
Denied.
더 가슴을 펴고 당당하게 배를 써.
Yiseg has moved on to giving Yiseg instructions.
I love this.
버러지 같은 것들.
Aww.
더 크게.
버러지.
Why are they
So
literally doing the
good.
Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash bit?
They are, though.
와중에도 꼭 그래야겠나요?
Ishmael's so done.
아, 단테. 그래서 베르길리우스 씨는 뭐라고 하셨나요?
Oh no.
너무 조용조용해서 못 들었거든요. 위에다가 보고해서 최대한 빠른 시일 내에
Oh, no.
하셨겠죠? 예?
Did Hongmu not fill them in? Did Hongmu not fill them in on things?
그건 힘들 것으로 보인다.
아니, 왜 힘든데? 좀
Bud, you gotta elaborate.
Oh no.
I think Ishmael should go back to saying Bud.
I do too, honestly. I really like this interpretation of Ishmael.
베르길리우스 씨가
Oh.
꼬미인가?
Oh, it's Carmen's little mascot thing.
카론이 제일 아끼는 인형이지.
Aw, he's so soft about Charon. Does that explain things?
사탕 안 주면 꼬미가
Oh
가만히
no.
그렇게 말했어.
Hey, so we all remember whose body she's in, right?
Yeah.
그게 무슨 소리냐? 가만 안 둔다니 무슨?
오티스 양. 카론 양에게 그렇게
Oh,
소리치는
no.
것은 좋지 않소.
Rothas does not want to fight a color fixer after being told he's the weakest hitter. Comey need candy. I love that. Virgilius also. Oh, guys, oh my gosh. Adopted fodder Virgilius is so good. Like, Virgilius says Charon's dad is so good. I love those two. I love them so much. He will kill everyone if Charon gets fairly even pushed. Yes. Comey, final boss. Trust. I believe. Also true. Now, I need Virgilius with a teddy bear now, Myron. That would be so cute.
Oh, wait. Is, like, Happy Smiling Teddy Bear based off of Comey?
어디 책에 나오는
Wait! Wait! Oh my gosh, the abnormality Happy Teddy Bear based on... That would make so much sense prior. Wait, I never even thought about that.
Because isn't, like, one of, Carmen's, like, big things, like, she actually has a weak heart and she's afraid of people leaving and abandoning her?
Yeah! I think so. Wait.
She also ends up killing the people closest to her.
Aww. Aw, wait. That would make a lot of sense if Happy Teddy Bear's connected to her and or Comey. I also like
yeah.
Dawn assuming Comey's a villain. Oh,
A
you don't
villain?
think so? Oh, no, that's true. Like, I was just curious because they're both like teddy bears if there was a connection there.
가만 안 두기는. 야, 누가 누구한테 그딴 말을 해? 가만 안 두면 뭐 어쩔 건데? 그러지 마세요. 저희 그러다가 베르길리우스 씨랑 싸워야 할 수도.
Aww. We're gonna get to see Comey? Yippee!
야, 너 얼굴로 말 3번 이상 더듬으면 죽여.
I hear 3 more stutters and I'll bash my head in.
I like how you don't know if he's talking about his own head as in the Heathcliff's or his own as in Sinclair's. Also, I love the Heathcliff voice crack. Oh my god. I love how they did how Heathcliff did Sinclair's voice. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. I need this Heathcliff more.
관리자 날이 아무리 그래도 본인은
This would be most wise to avoid battling a color fixer.
꼬미를 이루고 있는 주 성분은 면 7%, 합성 섬유 3%, 목화섬 90%.
How do you know this?
실제 전투 상황에 놓였을 때의 물리력은 그저 솜방망이라고 단정지을 수는 없다. 특히 여러 번 꿰맨 흔적은 전투 경험이 적지 않다는 것을 뒷받침한다.
Oh my gosh.
베르, 이렇게 보니까 너무 귀엽다.
I love his expressions.
돌.
I have no clue what she's saying here.
Not even the smallest idea.
번역. 모조리 해치우면 모조리 돌아온다고.
Thank you, Heathcliff.
Thank you. Oh god, Sinclair always knows what she's saying.
왜 본인의 소중한 배지들을 모조리 뜯어내는 것인가? 전투 시 걸리적거립니다.
That's so good.
그게 무슨 적어도 생채기가 안 되면
Aww.
조심히.
Ah. Holy shit. They let Dante swear! They let Dante swear!
This is
Also,
the
yeah,
correct moment to let Dante swear.
Real. We are gonna need all the candy in existence, Fiverr, and Charon beats people with Comey. I'm also happy with this existence visa. This is so good.
단테님이 앓는 소리를 내셔요. 이전엔 그런 적 없으셨거든요.
Dante swearing! Yes!
어딘가 아픈 곳이 있는 것이요.
This is what it takes to make Dante swear.
It really is. Uh-oh.
Oh my god.
저 녀석 전투를 준비하는 모양새다.
Oh no. What can we do?
방법이 그 외에는 없는지를 묻고 있네요. 단테가. 베르 길리우스. 알다시피 카로는 글라디우스의 사용법을 모른다. 전투 경험도 없다고 봐도 무방하지. 나의 몸이라고 한데 이것만으로 이 녀석들에게는 큰 메리트.
Oh, I'm so excited, everyone.
No, we're gonna find a color fixer.
쉽지는 않겠지만
Oh, we're fighting Virgilius.
나를 이겨볼 수도 있겠지.
Trust and win rate.
다만 그런 일이 일어났더라도 이 일을 부풀려 붉은 시선을 이겼다느니 그런 머저리 같은 헛소리가 버스에 조금이라도 도는 낌새가 보인다면
I'm so glad. Thank you, Byron.
대가를 톡톡히 치르게 해주겠다.
Oh my gosh. Charon's eyes
Okay.
burned with a threatening aura.
I mean, but okay, so this is saying though, physically we might stand a chance of beating Virgilius if he's unarmed and forgets how to fight.
Gets all his experience and all his combat knowledge. It was almost as though her eyes had turned red. I'll trust in win rate, everyone. I'll trust in win rate. I think I heard someone indignantly click their tongue, but we decided to disregard that.
꼼이 화났어.
Oh, he's mad.
파업이야. 아니, 자신들끼리 특색과 싸운다고요? 애초에 싸워서 뭐가 바뀐다고?
Oh my gosh.
이봐,
Fellas!
지금 그렇게 앞뒤 따질 상황은 아닌 것 같은데.
Thank you, Fiverr. I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need it.
너희들 전원
Wait, wait, hold on. We haven't picked our IDs though.
Oh, are they gonna make me use the base IDs?
Oh my god.
Oh no. The fellas is so good. Charon strongest. Charon candies. Wait.
Oh my god, we do get bait.
Oh my god. She's so cute.
Okay, wait. All right, let's read their stat. We're getting valuable Virgilius information.
Oh, prioritize the targets with candy. If the target does not have candy, inflict candy. All right, we don't know
Okay,
what
so I
any
don't
of
think
these
this will tell us much about actual Virgilius. They're fucking HP.
Whoa. Question, exclamation point. Give me candy. No candy. You, Comey's angry. Vroom vroom. You hit Comey. Look
Hold
at
on,
the ego.
wait. What was the attack rate? What was the attack rate on that? On Vroom Vroom?
Vroom vroom was... Is that the bus? Is she gonna hit us with the fucking bus?
Look at the skill! Look at the skill! I think you're right! Look at the skill image!
Oh. Is that the Limbus?
Okay, wait. Can we read their passive too? I'm curious what their... I know you want to actually play the game.
I first want to check the ego and then I'll read the past. Oh shit, we have our same egos.
Okay, so that does actually confirm something huge. That confirms that even if you were to swap bodies, your ego follows you.
Yes, your ego does follow you.
Does that mean they have uniques? Does that mean they have unique okay, they might have unique animations for... No way, they have unique animations for every single person's base ego, though.
Oh, that would be so sick. Wait, I need to see these. Also, wait, someone said Royally said try to get Heathcliff hit because he has the funniest hit sprite. I need to see this. Comey's also the mascot that was mentioned, Distortion Detective in Carmen's in-game red hairband. Yes, I recognize the hairband from Carmen. I recognize that. The sprites are so good. Oh, wait, I'm gonna have to look at these. Okay, let me see. Egos are invisible. Oh no. That's a shame. That would have been so cool to see. But
I mean, I get that'd be a lot of work. All right.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of work. Candy!
Alright, so what are all their passives? Do they have any special passives?
Does who have any special passives?
Oh, I was Virgilius. I was trying to zoom through.
It's just got candy.
Got candy and the red aura.
And
Okay.
the red aura. Oh my gosh, wait. These are so cute. So like Dawn is like posed more like
yeah,
Faust.
These are unique sprites.
Yep, they're all unique. And then you have Faust has like her hand on her hip. I love this.
Look at Otis.
Otis Yee-sang. Like he looks so much more confident. These are so good. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And,
okay. We gotta try and clash.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Poses based on how their base sprite does. Oh, I love that. Win rate. With the teddy bear. Wait, Comey. Oh, that's so cute. All right. Go, my sinners.
Cute block animation.
Oh my gosh. I love watching these animations.
Wait. Hold on, they all have a unique. I see they all have a unique.
We get Virgilius Announcer too. Wait, what do they have? All a unique what?
They all have a unique stat. I see. Hold on, they all have the clock under them.
The clock.
Tick tock on their status.
Oh, they heal 10 SP at the end of the turn. Ooh. Also, wait, we've seen. Wait, why is he doing this? Why is he doing the what was it? PETA from the Hunger Games? The fucking whistle? Like where he's got the hand behind his back?
Okay.
Oh my god.
Honglu got hit once and staggered.
Oh no. No,
wait, okay.
Honglu. You mean Yiseng? I mean, you know Otis?
Yeah. Okay, wait.
Honglu.
Let's try and fail. If they have unique getting hit sprites, can we try and purposely clash them badly to see if we can get we can see what they get hit with?
Oh my gosh, wait, I do want to see those. I'll do bad clashes to see. He didn't get hit, Candy will stay. Oh, Candy staggers. Oh. Alright, let's see. Is there any bad match? I think they're all favored actually. Oh, neutral. All right, I'll purposely hit neutrals if I see neutrals. Struggling. There we go. The struggler. Well, all right, let's see. Let's get them hit. Let's get them hit so we can see some of their unique sprites. Oh my god, the Virgilius attacks. Hands up! They have unique skill-free animations? Oh my gosh! Also, sexy Tumblr Man Marisol. I needed my life. Oh my god. Otis is getting her ass beat. Alright, let's see. Who's new? Oh! Prior, she's got the cigarette! The Honglu cigarette!
That's crazy.
And, oh my god, he's so cute! Oh, he's so cute, everyone! Look! Oh my god, I love that they're the same as the regular one. They're the same as regular one, just Comey. That's so good. Sans Undertale, the Tumblr sexy man. Yes. God, I loved his getting hits right. All right, let's see.
Right, their skill 3s have unique animations too. So if you see their skill 3s, maybe try and.
Yes, I will try to hit their skill free if I see it. What's your skill free?
You can click on them and see it because it'll be their third skill.
Orange. We don't have that yet. So we'll just have you struggle so we can see your thing. Your skill free is the green one. Oh, we can see your skill free. Let's go. Okay.
Yeah, the skill 3s are the ones with the unique like edge around them, I think. No, I could be wrong. Never mind, I was just wrong.
Oh, wait, no, I was gonna say, wait, there's multiple that have that. Oh, this is
I'm a
so
fool.
good.
Yeah.
Beat to death with stuffed animal? That's so funny. Wait, okay, it's the light blue. We don't have that, so we know what you do now, so you can just attack. And then Sinclair's is probably the red one. No, it's the orange one. Okay, there you go. There you go. All right, let's see what they do. Oh my god, the smile is so adorable. Go, go. I love the animations in this so much. Holy shit, they were clashing for a while. Oh my god. Karen wants Otis dead. I feel like how the stuffing flies up. Oh my god! These animations are so good! They put so much into this! Oh my god!
Wait, he gave a little scream as he pressed.
Oh my god, how much? Do we have all of them?
Yeah, that's all 12!
I love Ishmael with the cigarette.
Also, hold on. Does that mean, is he testing out that we're eventually gonna get all 12 sinners in a fight?
Yeah, wait, are we gonna get 12 sinner fights? This veggie's not level 80, or level 90? Oh, we don't know the level. Oh, 12 sinner battles? That's gonna be wild, everyone. Wait, so Marisol, or a farmer right over here. Oh, I love this. Who haven't I seen yet? We saw you. I like his little pout. Sinclair's so cute. I can't believe they introduced me to the trailers. Oh my gosh. Also, yeah, you were right, Prior. You were right about the lore drop.
네, 듣고 있어요.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
관리자 양반.
I'm trying to get as many as I can, everyone. So we can see
네,
Gregor.
듣고 있어요.
Gregor skill free is yellow. I'm so bad remembering which is which. You're struggling there. That's good. That's good. We saw Ryoshu, so I can just go ahead. Dawn, we saw yours. Honglu. Honglu, what's your skill free? Yours is the orange one. Orange one. Heathcliff. Little Sinclair. I loved his. His was adorable. I want to see it again. Then it comes up again.
야, 시계. 이
Oh my
자식 진짜
gosh.
굳은 살이 꽤 잡혔는데?
So ready for your full Kurokuma and Blade Lineage teams to see the field? Yes! Oh, this is such an exciting game engine reveal. I love this. These are, oh my gosh, these are all so good.
너무 그리
See,
걱정스럽게
Press.
바라보지 않아도 괜찮소.
Wait, hold on.
Oh shit.
I was just gonna say, oh, it's fine. Otis, I think the Otis Yisang is so cute.
Yes! I love Otis Yisang! And wait, the other part already sort of came up, but the whole idea of stars is significant to Dante's Inferno, as well as Project Moon, so keep that in mind. Yes! Kanto 50 boss where we have 24 sitters. Imagine. It didn't crash. I'm glad it didn't crash your phone. Curie. Oh my god, I love the Faust getting hit animation. Wait, poor Sinclair. I like his little angry face. Oh, this is so like I love all of these animations so much. We got the special Faust one again. Oh, Ryoshi's is so cool. Oh my gosh, this is so funny to see. Ooh. Did you just hear that noise Marisol made?
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's so good. I love these.
너무 그리 걱정스럽게 바라보지 않아도 괜찮소.
Go, my sinners. Your skill free. Orange. Oh my gosh, I love them.
You just click on their main page, and the third skill will be their skill 3.
Oh, how do I get their main page to show up?
Well, if you just click, like, you click on them rather than having to click S3, like, if you click on Gregor.
Oh, right here?
No, I meant if you just click on Gregor's token, it'll just be the third skill on the list. His, like you were doing before, click on his unit.
His unit. His unit.
Yeah, rather than having to hit skills, it's just the third one.
Oh, it's the yellow one. Wait, I'm very smart. I want to see if there's special shields. You might want to grab hold of something. What do you mean, literally? What do you mean, Myron? Wait, grabbing hold of something. Komi's angry. You.
I think we're very close to. I think we're very close to dropping Virgilius' shield.
Oh no! I don't know if I should be worried about that.
I think you could just win rate because it should just pick their best skill, which should be their skill 3. Yeah.
Karen announcer said that. Oh, I missed that. I was too busy trying to look for their skills. I wanted to see special animations. I'm sure someone somewhere has all of the special little animations.
Oh,
to see the
there it is.
Right?
There.
Are we getting hit by the fucking bus? I'll have to go looking for the Heathcliff hit sprite royally. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. All right, bus time, I guess. Oh. Was it a nightmare? Where? I recall Miss Doffley's rushing towards us in a speed that would have definitely crushed our bones, but missed. I don't think we're winning that clash. I hope there's a compilation of all of it, Fiverr. I was trying to get as much of it as I could.
뭐야 시계 대가리? 왜 이렇게 꾀꾀거려? 또 머리 터질 것 같냐?
Aw, Heathcliff!
Cash register sound.
Heathcliff, it's you, right? Is that a new Dante sound?
뭐야? 뭔데 이래 징그럽게? 저리 안 가?
Who wins, full stop, Heathcliff or a bus? He is Heathcliff. You're earning Dawnwood. You're earning Dawnwood.
관리자님.
Aww.
깨어나셨네요. 한참을 안
Guys, thank you for the follow. Thank you. Welcome to the herd. Welcome. I really appreciate it.
대만철.
ALATCT.
Oh, as long as the clock turns.
Oh. Eve, I don't know if you saw it, but there was the Sinclair and Heathcliff's body with the bat was making like Sinclair's like nervous, flustered expressions. It was so cute. Said you were getting better at that, Sin. Why didn't you get it? I don't have a defense, literally. I know, same. They're so. Oh my god, they make me love them more too, Myron. I'm so glad you saw, Abe. I'm so glad you saw. I thought you would appreciate that. Every time I see Sinclair, I think of you.
Much worries were had by all, for Miss Faust informed us of your safety, Dante.
Oh.
맞아. 이대로 영원히 자는 줄 알았다고.
Oh, you gotta get ready for work. Good luck at work, Myron. Good luck. And thank you so much. This was such a good event. I loved this. I'm so glad you dropped that. I can't wait to take a look at the art. Peak.
단테님, 시침이 유난히 바르르 떠는 것 같은데요? 괜찮으신가요?
I miss Ryoshu Honglu, honestly.
이거 호엔하임 씨에게 한번
Hohenheim mentioned.
Wait, oh my god, Hohenheim actually mentioned.
Hohenheim mentioned. Oh my gosh. Also,
I guess it makes sense. He
Riley.
did really well on the popularity poll.
He did. I love him. I love him so much. I also miss nice Ryoshu. Dante got hit by a bus and got isekai'd. Oh my gosh. And no problem, Myron. No problem. Take care. But yes, I'd love to see that art. I'd love to see that art royally.
파우스트가 이미 조치를 마쳤습니다. 그자가 아니어도 충분히 해결할 수 있을 것 같습니다만.
She does not want his ass.
Wait, okay. Assuming that was a mirror world, does that mean this Faust is one of the ones mocking other Faust for getting locked out of the Gestalt?
That's so funny. Yeah, that would mean this Faust would be. Oh my god. I love that. This Faust cyberbullies. Also, he is so skunkly. I love him. I love Hohenheim. Also, he has some connections to other things. I hope we get more of him. And, ooh, Limbus Company April Fools Event with Sinner OCs. That would be so fun, Abe. I want to see that. I want that to happen. Aww. Aww.
Put her back in Faust's body.
Real.
Let her have her cosplay.
Yes. Oh no, my second monitor just went black. Wait, that's not good.
It experienced peak. There's nothing better it can ever show you again, so it decides to not show you anything at all.
Real. Aww. Bigger. Oh, now if you're thinking of the right character, it looks like Jeffrey. I don't know who that is, really. I'll have to look that up. Also, I want to adopt her too. I love her, Miso. Can we organize that for next year or something? Just going through a bunch of LCBOCs. Can we do that? That would be so fun, literally, to have like an OC April Fool's swap next year. That sounds so fun. Also, yippee! Congrats, King! I love Ricardo Announcer! And thank you for posting it, Immortal. I can't wait to take a look at the Hurt Sinclair sprite. Sincliff sprite. Sincliff! Wait, that's so cute!
이 오티스의 불찰이 매우 큽니다. 제가 이렇게 허리를 숙일 테니.
Aww. Guys. I think I like us exactly as we are right now. Aw. Also, yes, Abe. And please do, Royally. Please do.
강력한 듯한 째각거림이군요, 단테.
Bus driver want candy.
Dante should just turn to him and say it.
He should. It'd be really funny. Oh my gosh. Stopping Dawn from getting a wig, dyeing her hair, and cosplaying Faust. I'd love to see that. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which...
Also, this proves we actually can't beat Virgilius, even with Virgilius using no weapons and no powers and all 12 sinners on the board at once.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, they are fighting in different bodies with different weapons than they're used to. But at the same time, like, I don't think they were taking him. Yeah, he is just that strong. Once this tearful reunion was complete, I stepped off the bus to do some stretches. Are we about to get...
Oh, whoa. Is that our first look of what a highway looks like?
Oh, I think so. Wait, we saw a little bit of it in not Canto, the Sweeper's Intervallo, I think. But it was blocked off. Yeah, this is what the highways must look like in the background here. This is what the managers were traveling on.
Huh.
Ooh. That's so cool. I loved the teddy bear. It was so cute. Hazard Bomb versus 12 coughing babies. I love Charon just being able to summon the buzz. And that is true. That this was a head knockout dream.
Well, we know the head knockouts. We know the head knockouts are gazes into other distant mirror worlds.
Oh, that is true. That is true. Oh, I know the teddy bear was traversing those highways seemed like hell, like a highway to hell. Yeah. Bust Chiron's ego. I love that. Wait, what did she say at the beginning? No takesy backs?
Yeah, no takesy backsies. Wish upon a star. Twinkle, twinkle, stars.
Oh. Aw, she's so cute.
Menfee twinkle, twinkle like stars.
Wait. What do you mean by that? I turned around to see Charon busily cleaning the bus as always. Can you kick Cinna from call and take control of the stream? Kill Cinna. Kill Cinna. He could, actually, I think. Actually, no, I don't think you could, because if you kicked me from the call, you would vanish.
Yes, that is unfortunately how it works.
I forgot that's how it worked. I genuinely thought if he kicked me from the call, then I would vanish. And somehow he'd appear with all my OBS. Come on. I don't know where she got it, but she was happily sucking on a candy. Hey, where'd you get that, girl?
Where'd you get that, girl?
I wanted to ask her if Virgilius had given it to her, but there wasn't anyone around to be a translator for me. I decided to return my gaze toward the night sky. Oh. Wait, can't she see all the mirror worlds because of what the ring did to her? I need to read Leviathan. I've skimmed it, but I know there was something that so this is canon.
This is canon. This has to be canon because they explained it using the mechanics that already exist, which is distant mirror worlds. So Charon can control the mirror worlds Dante goes to.
Oh shit. Maybe she hit him with the bus to get him back? To send him back?
Also, does that mean Charon can understand Dante? And is just refused to the whole time?
Yeah, I think so. Also, thank you, Meru. Thank you. I appreciate it. You're so sweet.
I was joking at first. Charon might actually just be a golden bow.
Oh shit. But that would be really interesting. Wait. Also, yes, I was gonna say, isn't Charon named after the Chthonic deity from Greek myth? Oh, the ferryman. She is strong. Is there mirror or wishes her power? There probably is a mortal, but she also played with him in Mirror World Sinners. I'm so curious. Listen, Vin, it is an April Fool's Day thing, but I feel like they've said, I don't know. I feel worried.
Listen, Kim Jae-hoon has been very, very strict from day one on diegesis. I am a firm believer that unironically everything in here is canonical in some way. Because technically April Fool's Day Event 1 was also canonical, and it did teach us how Dante, an important factor of how Dante's clockwork that was later confirmed, or may have been earlier confirmed by Dante's head going super hot.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very excited what they're cooking up. Also, what do you disagree with literally? But we should probably canon the mirror world equally as everyone agreed. And yeah, he became a horse. Was this all building up ooh, to like the mirror worlds colliding. We get like a clash meeting of all the different sinners and their other selves. That would be really interesting, Fiverr. And oh my gosh, Roaring John,
Ooh.
welcome in. This was so
All right.
good.
More crazy theories. Are the stars other mirror worlds?
Maybe. I could see that. I could see the stars being utter mirror worlds. I think that would be really interesting.
Also, another idea is every time the Dante turns the clock back on the sinners. So it's not true resurrection. We know that because otherwise the head would get on their asses, and they seemingly have infinite time. Is Dante just pulling sinners from like very close versions of them from other mirror worlds and overriding the sinners every time he revives them?
Ooh, wait. That would be really interesting. I could see that prior being the case. Like he's basically pulling sinners from utter mirror worlds to replace them.
He sees the door, right? That he goes and experiences their death to pull them through. Is he reaching into other mirror worlds and pulling them into this one?
That would be really interesting. I could see it. I do. Immortal does bring up a good point, though, that they do retain memories of their death when Dante does that. When they do that,
oh, it's because they're overriding them.
Oh, huh.
So it's like an it's because there's been a lot of theories that like uptying and ID theft is stealing from other mirror worlds, and all singularities in the city are powered by suffering. So it could literally just be the idea that they're killing these versions of the sinners in these other mirror worlds to perpetuate their sinners' perpetual existence in this one.
I think that's a really interesting idea. I could see that. I definitely could see that. And yeah, no, the gates are most likely reference the gates of hell in Dante's Inferno. No, they definitely gotta be. But I do agree with Fiverr. It's a good theory. Also, yes, Meru, thank you for the reminder. Thank you. I do appreciate it because we do want to be strict on time tonight. And I do need to. I've read the Dante's Inferno. Sorry, I forgot the name for a second. I've read the Dante's Inferno, but I haven't read the Purgatorio or the Paradiso. So I hope there's a follow-up then, though. I hope so. And
yeah, see, Robin is speaking stories. My language. Robin and me are on conspiracy communication here because the Earl King knew he was killed when he came back.
That is true. Wait. Oh, but you doubt this will be brought up ever again, just like with first mid-spring summer night stream, from what I can tell. That is true.
Trust in Kim Jong-un's vision. I'll fight all of chat. This is critical information, pure canonical.
I think it would be fun if it got brought up again, even though it likely won't happen. I think it'd be so fun if it did. And I do love Karen hinting it is canon. Also, I have not seen the Limbus wiki. I'm gonna have to check it out royally. But if she knows and him with the bus to bring them back, she was in that mirror world and she played the bit. Wait, that is true. Dante goes Gundam. Right. Also, I'm excited for the Arknights collab Immortal. I'm very curious what it will be like. But sorry, yes. Give me one moment. I was just checking over to see the city's powered by suffering, not by nature the singularities. It's humanity that makes them work through suffering. That is true. We have been shown they can work without suffering. Like K-Corps could work without suffering. It's just that people choose to use the suffering one. But I gotta check it out royally. I'm so excited to see the little makeover it got. And thank you, Fiverr, for the time check. Think you're wrong? No comment. I really want to hear your theory, literally. I really do. And you feel like Faust would sometimes comment on that, given her gestalt works in mirror worlds? That's true, Immortal. That's true. Right, the similar sinners with the ones from here, then they would retain themselves. Oh, I've never been around before.
This is true, actually. I take back what I said. Literally has never been wrong ever before, ever. In like, literally has actually has access to Kim Jong-un's Google Doc drive right now. But all right.
Yes.
I think this is probably the end of the event. So let's play it. Let's run it.
Huh? Her odd comment lingered there for a while, but the night sky held its silence. A quiet protest of innocence. Ooh. What a good event. That was so good. Oh my gosh. But no, I'm going to have to check out the wiki. I really want to hear your thoughts, literally, if you're dropping them in the Discord. Because I know you mentioned you had a lot of thoughts on this. What's this? Comey's gift?
Open to receive order. All right, wait. Okay. So gotcha games do this sometimes. And now this is a you choice. This is a you choice for your account, but I've seen this before. It doesn't have an expiry date on it, I don't think. If you click on it.
It's like waking up from the strangest dream. It's Comey's Mid-Spring Night's apology gift, probably for beating the crap out of us with those plush fists. Comey says, "See ya later, Virgilius."
So these are so this is what we call a unique item in a gacha. Is you can redeem it for 401 lunacy, or you can keep it in your account, I think, as like a mark of pride that you played through the event.
Oh, I want to keep it. I think it's cute. Also, Sky, welcome in. Hello. I want to keep it. I think it looks pretty, and I think the little quote is cute. I want to keep this. I wish there was a way to mark this as like a favorite so I don't accidentally hit use.
Also, it's 401401. Haha. It's April Fool's Day lunacy.
Oh my gosh. Wait, that's so silly. I love that. You spent it the moment you got it because you want lunacy. That's so fair.
That was a really good April Fool's Day gift. Can you just access it on the map now though?
It probably. Ooh, let me see where we can access it. I don't think we can.
No.
I don't think we can play it again.
Wow.
I think it might have been. It might have been a one-time thing.
Honestly, mad respect to them.
Yeah, that was so good.
Oh, it's an event card.
Oh,
yeah,
card.
there it is. Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, how do I find event cards?
It technically should. I mean, is it down at like the bottom? Did they? I mean, I guess maybe we just don't get to.
You can on the main menu. Oh, you were playing the window.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's only for the event. A Midsummer's Day Dream reference. I was gonna say it's a Midsummer's Day Dream reference, isn't it? Because I love that play. We read it back in 6th grade. I remember. It was the first Shakespeare play I ever read. Sorry, what were you about to say prior?
Oh, man. It's crazy if this is. There's no way it's just gone forever. There's no way they put all this work and are just like, all right, and now you don't get to play it ever. You know what? They might. It's Kim Jae-hoon. I never know with them.
I would be so sad if it's gone forever.
What an event, eh, Cinna?
It was so good. Oh, I love this. I love this event. I'm gonna quickly read over everything and then we're gonna probably be calling it a night because, like I said, I was not actually supposed to stream tonight, but I got too excited, so I wanted to be able to do this with all of you and get to play this through. But that was amazing. That was amazing, Miso. And for what you could tell, it's only accessible until the 7th. Oh, okay, that is good to know. Because I was going to say, I never saw the first one in here. Playing which love and desires are an illusion. This has no bearing. I'm afraid. But no, I'll probably have to play this again because I'm just like on my own because I'll want to see some of the unique sprites we didn't get to see. And that is true. That is true that we have no proof of the sinners being refracted goop like Erkling was, but I'm curious to see what we learn about them and what we learn about what Dante is doing. And yes, Fiverr, oh my gosh, this was such an amazing event. I also love some of you decided to keep it, some of you decided to spend it. I think I'm going to keep it. I'm definitely going to keep it because I like the little event. I like the little collectible. And the biggest joke is KGH. It's like together with uneven lunacy amounts. Real. But no, oh my gosh, this was so very fun. I hope you all know. And I also think you bring up some really good points, literally, definitely, with how Earl King worked. And you'll send the art? Please do, Royally, and Jeffrey and Hohenheim. Prior, make sure to read my theory. I'm excited to hear your theory, Robin. And yes, take care, King. Take care, everyone.
Yes, do we want to raid out?
Yeah, let's go raid on out. I'm giving you a shout out again. If any of you aren't following Prior yet, go follow him. Go support him. He is wonderful. And no, you're going to steal my literacy. No! Good day to you, literally. Good day. Please bring my literacy back. I was already illiterate to begin with. You go to the mist? Take care, Miso. All right, let's see who we can raid out to. And a anyone who'd be interested in joining us for our April Fools event tomorrow at 9 p.m. EST, we're going to be having the managers doing some party games. So I hope you'll join us. It'll be pretty short, like 2-3 hours tops, but I'm super excited.
Yes, and I adored the sprite you did of Prior. And for anyone who doesn't know what you're talking about, you should go over to the art channel in Cinna's Discord and see the incredible sprites that was done of not just Prior, but everyone, because absolutely insane, super cool, super amazing. Keep all Prior real.
Yes! Oh, I love your sprites, Abe. And thank you so much, Fiverr, for coming. Thank you, thank you. I'll be sure to take care of myself. Party? Oh? But yes, let's raid on out and give... Oh, I haven't raided into Sora in a bit. I'm going to go raid out to Sora. So let's go give Sora some love, everyone. It looks like she's playing Minecraft. So give her lots of love. Thank you for sending the art, Royally. Thank you all for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Both of us do. And this was so much fun. This was so much fun. I hope you all had a blast. And take care, everyone. Off we go.